we need to look back at our objectives. So you might not have ever set any objectives at the start of your journey with social media. Maybe you've got some really solid ones, but ultimately it's always really good to reevaluate what you're doing and understand why you even started on social media in the first place. So these are just a few examples here as to what they may be. So increasing brand awareness, driving website traffic, engaging with customers. They're just a few examples. There are many out there. Obviously, conversion is a really big one. But you need to start thinking when you're posting, okay, I need to post with purpose here. How am I increasing my brand awareness? How am I driving website traffic? How am I engaging with my customers? And to do that, you need to set SMART goals, which we can now see. You need to set SMART goals, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound, so that you can measure and track your progress as to how you're doing that. So, for example, a good way of me at the moment with Touch Days social media and measuring how I'm doing with their activity, with our growth of our following, I have set an objective target, to make sure that we hit 10,000 followers. Obviously now pressure's on, now I've told all of you guys, to at the end of the year. It's specific, it's measurable, because I can certainly see that going up and up and up, and I can see where we started from at the start of the year. Achievable, I hope so, but I mean, I've managed to grow the social media following by double last year, so I'm hoping to do it again this year. So I think it's achievable. I've been told it is. So relevant, it is relevant, because we want to grow our audience as much as possible. We want to get that content out there, and so as many people can see it. And it's time bound. So have a little think about how you can set your SMART objectives, your SMART goals to achieve your objectives. So hopefully it's going to load. And who are your target audience? You will know your audience inside out. You'll be like, yeah, I already know that. I already know who my audience is. Okay, that's great, but let's remember that when we're posting with purpose on social. So what are their age, the location, where are they from, income, job title, the industry, interest, all of that sort of thing. So good example of this would be, maybe you have a short-term rental where you're targeting people who love going cycling, different activities. Maybe you're like, oh, there's some really brilliant cycle paths near me. I need to advertise that. Boom, great. You're appealing to your audience and you're trying to target them with purpose. And then match your target audience to the right platform. So, good example here of 3 different platforms. Obviously, of course, there are many different platforms, but these are quite a few of the questions we've had before around Facebook, Instagram, and the big one, TikTok. So as you can see, 29% age 30 to 39 years old, and 29% Facebook's audience age between 50 to 64 years old. So slightly older demographic. I say that in my 30s, so it's not slightly older, but still, I'll accept that. But yes, if you're looking to perhaps target a slightly older demographic, this is potentially the platform you want to go for. Whereas Instagram is pretty good all-rounder, 72% social media users aged 12 to 34. So obviously that shows it's got quite a younger audience, but equally it is a good all-rounder. Now TikTok, brilliant for your Gen Z, 35% age 18 to 19 years old. So whether that's relevant to you is in terms of, you know, who you're trying to target, it's always really important to consider the platforms and what audiences they will be hitting. But bearing in mind, TikTok does have a big Gen Z, social following, but at the same time, it's growing and growing in terms of all different age demographics. But yes, so that kind of brings me on nicely. No, it doesn't. I've got one more slide until I ask you, Jerry. We're coming to you, I swear. So also, in terms of your current socials, so this is, we're all kind of doing the research part of, you know, we're setting the foundations here, really important foundations, to then posting the content. And I will get to it, I promise. But you need to audit your current socials. You need to look and see, okay, what performed really well, what didn't, what is resonating with my audience currently, and how can I look to push this forward in the future? What can I reuse again? What ideas that I can reuse again and pick up upon? And then look at your competitors. Same sort of kind of mindset here. What's working for them? How well did that post go for them? How can I equally, so your brand, what you're trying to do it's really, really important to, it's important to remember what you're brilliant at. Don't look at your competitor and be like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing that, or I need to do it exactly like that. No, remember what your USPs are. But just look for inspiration. I think it's a really great idea to see, different trends that are working for them, and try and consider that in your strategy. Now, Derry, I'm coming to you now. So just kind of from that, I know that you have a really interesting strategy when it comes to your target audience and the social media platforms that you use. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Because I remember we've had this conversation before and you said something really interesting about it.
Yeah, so this is the Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok kind of idea. So when I look at social media, we're on a little over 1 million followers now. If I try and target those individual followers, it will take me forever. There's no way for me to try and do that on an individual level. So what I'm ultimately trying to do is target Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok specifically. So what I'm trying to do is create content that I think they deem to be worthy, because in all fairness, the followers that we have are not my followers. My audience is Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. That's who I'm trying to get to push my content forward. So rather than me targeting Debbie, who lives down the road, who's 34 with 2 kids, it will be really hard, unless I pay for advertising, it's really hard to find that exact person. You can do it very easily with Meta from a paid for advertising point of view. You can put in all these specific details. What we find is I put content out that I specifically target to those platforms, and it's individually based on the platform, to then share my content. Because if I impress Facebook with a video, they'll show it to 1 million, 2 million, 3 million people. And that's way easier to get your really large reach and form a really big audience as you go forward, is concentrating on what those platforms are looking for. Now, you just said it really well a second ago, and it was exactly what I was going to say. Trends are a really good way of doing this. Now, when you think of trends, you think of trending audio or trending videos. So it might be a piece of music that's doing really well on TikTok, or it might be a filter that's doing really well on Instagram, those sorts of things, which are all really important. But you can kind of go further with that. So I explained this exact thing to my son yesterday, because he's trying to create an audience on TikTok. So he's got a really good video of him skiing. I say a good video, it's actually him falling over skiing, but it's really funny. And I'm sure on TikTok there's an audio where it goes, my cousin Wilhelm is going to do a big trick and then he falls over. So it's dead funny. Now, he was wanting to, because that video did really, really well in January when we were skiing, and he wanted to repost it now. And I was explaining to him that will not gain good reach now, because from a trend, it's not winter now, when people aren't looking for ski holidays, images of snowmen, things like that. What they're looking for now is things for spring. So although each of our businesses might not be the same, so in my case, we have photos of the units and things like that, but what can you look at on social media or in the news that's trending at the moment, and create content of your site, your property, whatever it may be, that relates to something that's going on currently. So we're in spring, so daffodils, bluebells, those sorts of things. As we come to summer, it'll be sunshine and beaches and that sort of stuff. And as you come to winter, it will be snow and snowmen and that sort of thing. So it's making sure you're posting the right content at the right time, and that's hitting on different trends, whether it be audio or whether it be the physical content itself.
Beautiful answer. That's so great. Okay, I did have another question, but I think I'm going to save it actually. So actually, no, I'll divulge. I'll indulge even. So how did you, when you started the Secret Garden glamping, which I can't say is a tongue twister there.
ESG, just short.
Oh, nice. I like it. How did you decide on what platforms to choose? Because there'll be people that are watching now that have been using social for years. They'll know exactly what they're doing. They're looking for a bit of a refresh. But there'll also be people that are going, okay, I don't know where to start with TikTok. I don't know if that's relevant. How did you decide?
So it was organically, it grew. It started with Facebook, because back 4 years ago, I had no idea what social media was, except for posting photos of the kids or saying happy birthday when I was prompted to, like I was for my brother today. Happy 40th, Noel. There we go. That's my little bit done. That was it. That was my total social media understanding. So I started on Facebook. grew it on Facebook, moved over to Instagram when Meta was kind of pushing that way. So Instagram and Facebook are relatively straightforward to kind of cross over. When TikTok came along, that was a whole different endeavor. And learning that platform, which then ultimately changed everything going forward, because what we find now is when it comes specifically to TikTok, and it's something we can probably get into because it's a bit longer later, everything we do is TikTok based now, because Facebook and Instagram have seen TikTok come to the market, and ultimately they've seen a huge shift to that platform, and they're trying to do everything they possibly can to combat that. So the way it works is we know for a fact stuff that works great on TikTok will work great on Facebook and Instagram because they are copying their algorithm, just running slightly behind. So we've shifted all of our content creation to TikTok to test that platform, and ultimately we know whatever works well on there then crosses over to Facebook and Instagram. So that's where we're doing everything now, is on TikTok, and we're using it as that training tool, that testing platform to find what content will do well on Facebook and Instagram, knowing that they're copying the algorithms that TikTok are creating.
Brilliant. Okay, that's excellent. Perfect answers. And we are going to go into lots of elements of content creation and that sort of thing. So I'll probably delve a little bit deeper into that. But yes, so content creation. So we've looked at our research. We've done our research. We're happy. We know what's working. We know who our audience is. We know why we're posting on social. But where do we start with the actual content creation? Okay, so hopefully it doesn't seem to be loading again. But content pillars, these are the topics you're consistently focusing your social media activity around. I'm just going to go back and then forward just to see if it will show the no, give me 2 seconds.
I hope we've got a big wow factor when this appears now.
You know what? It's not even that not even that good. There you go. So, wow, they're the foundation of your social media strategy.
Well, now it all makes sense.
Mic drop. Yeah. So, but they will help you stay consistent, relevant, give you structure. This will make sense when I show you all of, because I've come up with an example just so that I can put, you can see the theory in practice. But basically, when you're scrabbling around on a Monday morning and you're like, what do I post on social? You can go, boom, okay, I'm going to do it on this particular theme. And then you can get into a cycle of going, actually, I've got quite a few ideas for that particular theme. I'm going to make sure that I schedule them. These content pillars will help you to be consistent and to stop that scrabbling around, because it does happen. So something you have to remember, all content should aim to either educate, entertain, inspire, or a combination of all three. So I think what I'm trying to say here when I say this is sometimes you'll see content that isn't necessarily doing that. They're just putting it out there because they just want to, they know they have to do social media. They just want to promote their house, their glamping site, anything like that, which is great and so valid, and want to support them and do well. However, it's got to offer one of these things because it's got to bring your audience value. That is the main point of social media. What is that person getting from that? Are you showing them something that's kind of boring, that great, you did that thing, well done, but what is that offering a person that's viewing your social media? So here are your content pillars. Again, something hasn't appeared here, but we move. So for your content pillars, you have to consider, so we've done the foundation work. So your target audience, your USPs, your social media goals, your social listening. So I kind of referenced this, but I'll explain it ever so slightly. Your social listening is all about basically putting your ear to the ground, listening to your audience. What are they asking you? What are they talking about? And what is happening within your wider network? What are people talking about on social? Is there a particular thing within your industry that's happening? I hear in glamping, it's hot tubs. Wow, shock horror, that's news. Yeah, people love a hot tub. So how can you work with it, weave it into your social media strategy? and your social media audit, you know what works best on your platforms now. Okay, how can we use this as one of our pillars? So here, BTS stands for behind the scenes. You can show off, you know, who you are. For example, like Derry and his family, that they run the glamping site. And I'll touch upon that in a minute because I've got a little example, which I'm really hoping is going to show up. But yeah, tips on the local area. This is so good for, like, you know, you've got your beautiful short-term rental, but why are people staying there in the first place? What do they want to do in the area? Show them. Oh, I didn't realize that they had you know, all these waterfalls on their doorstep. I think I might go visit that place now because it's there. Oh, I didn't know that they were next to that really fancy restaurant I wanted to go to. You know, just examples for you there. And I do kind of go into this a little bit more. Features of your short-term rental. So Derry has some beautiful units that he shows off, the gorgeous, you know, really unique places to stay within his units, like got the little hot tubs, but also there's a gorgeous, amazing, flowery bathroom. So cool. Very Instagram ready, you know. And guest experiences. So we'll touch upon this, but user-generated content is really brilliant for this, really showing off how your guests experience your short-term rental, you know, immersing your viewer, your follower into that world. It's so important. And tips for their stay. So, you know, what to pack, what not to pack. You don't need to bring towels, they're already here. Things like that are really valuable. I'm hoping this will work, yes. Instead of thinking, when you're making your content, how can I sell that product? So it kind of goes back to what I was saying before, you know, instead of you thinking, oh, I need to pop that out. Yeah, I just need to promote that. No, ask yourself, how does this add value to my customer's life? And really getting deep there. How is that adding value to their life? But it will, in some way, it will. Is it interesting to anyone outside of the business? This is really important because a lot of people forget that when they're on social. They're just like, yeah, they'll love it. They might not. And would I engage if I saw it? So try and be really not critical of yourself, but really kind of try and take a step back and go, and would I really engage with that if I saw it? Probably not. You know, and then that's okay, because then you can create something that your audience will love because you've asked that question. So this is good. They've appeared. Different types of content. You'll probably be saying, Alex, I know this. I'm just doing it just so you know. So you've got your videos, your static imagery, that's just one single image, carousel post, stories, sharing content such as, you know, sharing a link to somebody else's content, which is always great, just to share the love and, you know, give them a shout out, and threads. So just an example there of another social media platform, X, Twitter, and what you can do to share information there. This is a nice example here of, please play, of there is a video. And that is a really lovely UGC example we've had, where a customer of ours did this brilliant video of like, yeah, I've got this paper binder, but actually I've gone digital now and look at it work. And the video isn't really working there, but you get the idea. By the way, afterwards, all of this will be available to you and you can watch at your heart's content. So yeah, there's an example of a static post there. So little meme. And now it's working. And I did this when the Super Bowl happened. It's kind of trending, it's relevant. And I thought of my audience, okay? Who are we targeting? We're targeting short-term rental people. So what's going to be relevant to them? And then I hit it when a nightmare guest actually leaves 5 stars. We've all been there when you don't think you're going to have that. And it did pretty well, actually. It got like over 200 engagements. So I was quite pleased with that. I thought it was funny as well. So.
It's a brilliant post. That is absolutely brilliant.
Thanks, Derry.
I am all in on that. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
On so many levels, that's brilliant.
He gets it. Amazing, good. I'm so chuffed. And there is the Secret Garden glamping is an example there. It's just a screen shot there of what a carousel post looks like. Really great way to show off lots of different areas of your glamp site, or lots of different aspects of what you're trying to show. So I've seen it, and really beautiful quality photos there. That's also, I don't think I've mentioned this in this presentation. It's so important to have that really slick looking photography and videos. I mean, we'll come on to that a little bit as well. But yeah. So a good call to action. I'm really hoping again that this is going to appear. I'm not sure. There we go. So storytelling, and me and Derry have kind of spoken about this previously on a podcast we did. Just a little shout out there to the podcast.
We'll go back and listen to it.
Yeah, always a chance to plug. So storytelling, this is really, really important in social media. If you really want to catch your audience, you tell a good story. So techniques, evoking emotion, immersing the audience. So instead of a picture, a video by itself, of your, for example, your front porch, you need to paint a story behind it. So otherwise, if you're just like, here's my front porch, guys, enjoy, people would be like, yes, so you can, instead of that, you can be like, hey, here's someone enjoying their cup of tea or their breakfast, something where they look, they really enjoy themselves as the sun's coming up. Oh, I'm there. I can picture myself. And yeah, and that way you really immerse your audience into feeling like they really know what sort of experience they're going to have. And so along with that, a good call to action really, really helps. It helps to hook your audience and build a story. So for example, this is one of Derry's videos that I've lifted, Cozy Nights in the Lodge. It does look cozy. And it looks, yeah, oh, look at that fire. Oh, lovely. I'm there. Sign me up. So, somebody's like, oh, okay, cozy night, show me more. But there's lots of different examples of this. And the hooks are very, very popular on Instagram and TikTok to try and reel people in to watching the rest of the video. Because obviously, as we know, our attention spans are terrible, absolutely terrible. So you really need to get them soon as you possibly can. I don't have the stat to mind exactly, but I think it's like 1.5 seconds to hook someone in on
absolutely.
Yeah, it's so important, right? So try and strategically tell the stories that make your STR special. And there we go, the next slide, and I'll be building to Derry in a moment. So I just thought I'd show you a couple of examples here of some of our Touch Day users who do this really, really, really well. Obviously, Derry does as well, and we'll be going back onto Derry stuff in a minute. But here's some good ones. So this is from Perennial Stays, a really lovely customer of ours. And look at that. She's given you some really great examples here as to what's going on around her short-term rental in the summer. And so people can picture themselves there. They can also go, oh, actually, yeah, I'm going there. I think I might book up that place. And yeah, the video. And it's just really nice. Yeah, less than 30 minutes away from her short-term rental. Brilliant. Okay, now we know. Now maybe I'll book up. And here is exactly what I was talking about in the middle here. So someone's front porch, in particular, the Laundry Retreat, a lovely customer of ours. And you can see here, wow, what a view. That is stunning. And so instead of just, taking a picture of that, you're really immersing, if the video will load, immersing your customer. You can kind of get the idea though, what they'll see, and they can really grasp what they're going to get from that experience. There we go. Lovely. I want to stay there. I want to stay in all of these places. And this is a really, really, really great example from Unyoked. Another of our customers, really brilliant example here of, if it's going to load, a bit of user-generated content. This was shot by a customer of theirs. And just so nice. Look, they're enjoying their stay there. Those are all the facilities. Looks like just a chill place to be able to, if it'll load, to go and stay. And yeah, it's another great example. It's not going to load, but hopefully you'll see that later. But you can see there that they've taken that user-generated content because it really immerses the audience into the actual experience they're going to have. And then we go into really nice post here from Daisy Bank Camp, a little intro. So if you're looking to, like I said, behind the scenes, who you are. Isn't that lush? Daisy Bank Camp look lovely. Oh, I want to go stay there. But yeah, it's just nice to know, right? You're the host. You want people to understand who you are, and that post Derry will recognise is from the Secret Gardens Glamping about Derry's journey, because Derry has such a phenomenal journey, and I might let him touch upon this in a minute as to how it was even formed, his business. So it's just so nice for people to be like, it's insane amount of engagement there to understand where it all came from, and the TLC that's gone into making the business. So that's great. So top tips, and then I'm going to ask Derry some questions. Okay, so for Reels and TikTok videos, because Derry will have a lot to say about this. So like I said, you've got to grab your viewers' attention with a hook. So big, bold statements like, is this the best burger in Boston? That's what I came up with on the fly. Alliteration. And something at the start, we've all seen these different videos where we're like, oh, what's that? I'm going to click on it. And then also create visual intrigue and curiosity. So, you've got that hook, but you also need to reel people in with what's actually on the screen. So yeah, and I'm touching upon this very quickly, but we can go into it. We can talk till the cows come in, until 5 o'clock about this. User-generated content. This is such a big deal, and it is something that's really, quite honestly, helped TouchStay's social to fly, because you really get an understanding of how people are using your product, how people are experiencing your service, your short-term rental. User-generated content, if you don't quite know what it is, that's when your users post about their stay with you. It doesn't necessarily need to be paid. It's often, quite honestly, user-generated content is just organic. And that's when we go into influencer, when it's paid. But you can use that user-generated content. One of our really lovely customers, Perennial Stays, she's used some, she created some, and we've used it for an ad, and we've actually looked at, because she's going to become one of our influencers, which is amazing. So, and then influencer activity. So this is something I used to do for John Lewis, and I now do it for TouchStay. We've done some influencer activity. And this basically means you can leverage an influencer, someone who's got quite a large follower, someone who's got quite a small one. You can get nano influencers, which is under 10,000. Micro influencers, 10,000 to, I'm really testing myself here, about 500,000, but I would say that's pretty big though. And then you've got your macro ones, 500,000 plus. So big influencers, the Kim Kardashians of the world. Derry. So that's when you have an agreement, a paid agreement. It can be gifting them a stay, it can be paying them, whatever it is. I won't go on across. This is a whole different topic in itself, but it's ultimately to get some really authentic content from an influencer who's using your product to show it off on their channels, and then you can repurpose it on your own channels as well. And it can work really, really well as long as it's authentic, it aligns with your brand. And yeah, people can really see how, oh yeah, I really want to stay there. It can be really inspiring content. Trends, we've spoken about this. Trendy music, concepts, Derry explained that so well just then. Basically, jumping on a trend that's relevant to you. It's really important to understand you don't have to jump on the bandwagon for everything. Some things aren't necessarily relevant for you. That's okay, let it go. Just jump on the things that are really, really relevant. And I would say doing that, and I'll touch upon this in a minute, I would say that you need to be present on social to be able to see these trends. Look at your competitors, but also spend some time. And it's a great excuse if you're with your loved ones, like get off your phone. I'm working, so that you can be like, I'm on these platforms, I'm looking for these trends. Oh, that's come up quite a lot, actually. Maybe that's a trend. Also, I've included it at the very end, and this will be sent out to you, some great resources where you can see these trends weekly. So later, it's a really brilliant social media scheduling system that also produce a top-notch blog. They do a weekly report of trends. So you can have a look in there. You can cheat. You might not have to look. And then AI. AI is really, really important in the world in general but great for generating ideas. I would be careful if you're on AI and you're getting them to create captions. Not that I've ever done that, but because it does sound stilted, it's not quite there yet. Use it for ideas. You know what activities are there in? I'm in Bristol for my short-term rental guests to enjoy. Use it for that, and then you'll come up with loads of ideas from that. It's a really great tool. Remember to always provide value and be authentic. So there's a little video here of 5 easy camera moves to try. And this is just a TikTok that I found, just typing in, you know, camera moves, camera angles on TikTok. And I'll send this, but it's brilliant because you can understand how, okay, I'm going to make a reel. How can I shoot this? And it just gives you really great examples. And Derry's content is brilliant for that because you can see how he shoots up, across, reveal. Yes. So that brings me beautifully on to asking Derry some questions. So Derry, what types of storytelling content have you found is the most successful in building your brand awareness and creating engagement?
Ooh, you see, right, while we've been sat here, I've been writing on my notepad. Honestly, some of this is amazing. I know we're
Oh,
limited in time, so we can't speak about everything. I must have about 15 different points from what you just said then. Everything's
wow.
perfect.
Thank
So
you.
when it comes to storytelling, I mean, what we're using when you go back to your board when you were talking about before, so educational, inspirational, most of our content is based around inspirational content. So what we look at is the aspirations of what people intend to do when they come. What they intend to do and what they actually do, you know, can be two different things, but it's the aspiration of I want to go away with my friends, my family, my loved ones, whatever it might be, and we want to do X, Y, and Z. And if you can show them how that plays out, so that could be, you know, sitting in the hot tub drinking champagne, that could be roasting marshmallows around the fire pit, it can be all these different things. But giving them the nudge to say, I can imagine myself doing that, having the aspiration to venture outdoors, to do different things, whatever it is, that's where we focus most of our storytelling around. Now, the other big player at the moment on the educational side, people speaking about their businesses, you know, people really, really engage with business owners, brand owners, whatever it might be, if they're talking about their product, whether it be shoes or glamping sites, it doesn't really matter. It's not something we focus on at the moment, but it is something that's massive going forward, and it's something that we're going to do more. So literally me speaking about my journey, speaking about my story, why I do it, what we do on a day-to-day basis, how we help the local community. All these sorts of things are really important to guests when they're coming to stay now. It's not just about you know, where they're going on holiday or what new trainers they're buying. They want to actually know a bit more in it, and that sort of content really kind of gives them a good look at the business as, you know, as an overall thing. So when you go, for example, if you go to the Hilton, you're never going to see Mr. Hilton talking to you or saying hello to you or anything like that. You have no idea what he does. You just make it up in your head. Where actually, if you can get in front of a camera and talk about your journey, why you're doing it, the reasons that you're motivated, that engages with people massively and then can draw them to your website. So they might not have been interested in, you know, a glamping site, for example, but if they hear my story about why I did it, suddenly they become interested and they look into it and think, oh, right, okay. And then they look at more content, which is aspirational and inspire people. And they think, actually, I could picture myself doing that and staying there. And that's where the bookings come from then. So yeah, that's really important when it comes to storytelling. And that can be different things. You know, some people don't have a crazy story like mine is, but even talking about what you do on a day-to-day basis, engaging with your customers, because as small businesses, we can do that very, very easily because at the end of the day, it's us who are running the businesses. Back to my other example, Mr. Hilton can't engage with his customers on a daily basis, so they can't do that. So rather than fight on their level on what they're doing, we better off fighting with what we can do that they can't. That's how I look at anything. What can we do that they can't do? So, you know, from a small business point of view, there's a lot we can do that they can't.
Brilliant, brilliant points there. Great. And I'm going to ask you another question,
Mm-hmm.
kind of in relation to that. How can short-term rental brands strike a balance between their promotional content and and their informative value-adding posts? So obviously, you know, it's all great me posting a meme, but equally, and that does generate activity, of course it does. But
Yeah.
how can I balance that with the, you know, the promotional content? How can I do both?
Well, it's back to what you was talking about before, making sure that whatever content you put out fits under those terms. So it can be a funny meme like that, which was absolutely brilliant, and it can be, inspirational content. It can be educational content. It's on the screen now. I've just noticed. Entertaining content. All these things. What we're ultimately trying to do is we're trying to play the system. So social media, like you said, actually, it's one of the things I wrote down on my little pad. The hook. So 1.5 seconds is the metric that Facebook, Instagram, TikTok use to say that customer or that person on that platform is interested in your content, and they will show that content further. So at the start, all we're interested in doing is getting those eyes on our content, because then Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok will show them more similar content to what they're interested in. So you might hook them from a funny meme, but they, going forward, will see more of your other content that might be promotional content, might be inspirational content. So that's what you're ultimately trying to do with every post, is get that analytic to Facebook and Instagram and TikTok to show that your content is worthy for them to see it more. Because that's all the social media platforms are really bothered about. They don't care what the content is from their point of view. All they care about is that me or you are on that platform more than going on TikTok. So Facebook want to beat TikTok, even though Facebook and Instagram are the same company, they still want to beat each other. So if you create something that's going to keep somebody on that platform for longer, that's the analytic to them to show not only that person more of your content, but other people who are similar to them, your content. So it's a snowball effect. If you get one person who's really intrigued in your content, Facebook and Instagram and TikTok can find lookalikes. You can pay to do that through advertising, but they will find people exactly like Debbie who lives down the road, and they will show your content to them, knowing that it's going to hook them onto the platform more. That's all they really want. They don't care about the content, but the customer does. So it can be all these different things.
Love that. Brilliant. Perfect. That's exactly the answer I wanted. Okay, so I'm going to kind of steam through this very last bit. There we go. I'm just going back to, and we can, I'll show you these videos. I don't think they're going to play, so hopefully we can send that to you afterwards, and then you can look for your heart's content. So that hasn't come up. But what I was going to say, not questions. No, it's not going to come up, is it? There we go. So what next? So what next? Okay, you've posted your stuff. Brilliant, great. It's on social, but it's just the beginning. You have to think to yourself, okay, I've got to spend time on these platforms to understand the trends like we've spoken about. And to help with that, and that'll link in the slides you get afterwards, you can look at keyword research. So you can understand within your network, okay, glamp sites. I'm going to put that into TikTok. What's coming up? Let me see these trends. So stay on top of what's trending. If you're not too worried about what's trending, that's absolutely fine. But it's always good to keep your ear on the ground as to maybe what other people are posting about. Use scheduling tools, because now you've got those little buckets or themes, whatever you want to call them, content pillars. You can say, okay, great, I've got this one on loads of recommendations. I'm going to post this on a Tuesday, and I'm going to post it on a Thursday. And then you can start to map out your socials for the month, and so much less stressful. And you will have times where you're like, I don't really have time to schedule it. But trust me, as soon as you start scheduling it, you probably already do. There's loads of you out there that probably already do. Then you can go, okay, brilliant. I can get all that done ahead of time. I can schedule it. It's going to go out. I don't even need to think about it. And then you can work on next month, so on and so forth. And then remember, of course, to do your social media reporting. So that's looking at the content that did well. And trust me, you will be glued to it, because you want to know what works well. You put your heart and soul into it. You'll be like, oh my gosh, that got like 100 engagements. Or, oh my gosh, that got like 30 or 40. Whatever it is, you're making progress. And then community engagement. And this is just a little plug as well as a point. But community engagement is really, really important. Answering your customers' questions, making sure that everybody if they're asking a comment, sometimes in the comment, you can get more content from people asking a comment. You can be like, aha, great question. I'm going to make a video about that. A lot of people on TikTok do that. And a lot of content within the comments in TikTok, that's where the gold is. So you need to go and have a little look in there. That's often where people go straight away. If there's a trending piece of content, people will be like, oh my gosh, what are people saying in the comments? And make the most of that, because you can engage with people. You can, like I said, you can create more content out of it. Just really, and also on top of that, and another thing, you can say Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, they want to serve the people who are on their platforms. And if you're engaging with other pieces of content, with other businesses, people within your network, then they can see that you're an active participant on there. You're commenting on other people's, maybe influencers. That is certainly a strategy some people use. And commenting, engaging, liking, spending time on there. Honestly, it's one of the things in the algorithm that helps to boost you up a bit. So spend at least 10 minutes a day, I would say, or, not even that, every other day. Just try to, on the platform itself, to get engaging with people, because trust me, your algorithm, you'll be pushed up the algorithm. They can see you're an active user. It will help. And then Rockstars is our our little community, our Facebook group, and this is where lots of short-term rental owners, hosts, managers come together and talk to each other, and they ask us questions. They don't ask necessarily us, they ask each other. They'll be like, yeah, great, touch day, whatever. Guys, I've been having this problem with my guidebook. Or they'll even just be asking, problems, not necessarily problems, advice about their short-term rental. Just a really lovely community where everybody's kind of there for each other. It's a great safe space to talk about whatever you need. And it's also a really great insight for us as to what people need and what they're asking about for our product. So brilliant. Join as many of them as you can. Maybe set up your own. That's a project, maybe perhaps down the line. But if you're really into social, you might be like, yeah, I'm going to do that now. So,
Sorry, can I just jump in there? Just
course, I was going to ask
writing
you
notes all the time as I go along. Just on the comments thing. So that's a really good one. So as we were speaking about before, all Facebook and Instagram want to see is you getting people to stay on your site, on your post for as long as possible. Comments are a really, really good way of doing it. So if somebody replies, sends a comment on a video saying, this looks beautiful, then you replying to them with another question or a comment about it. So if they just commented saying, this looks beautiful, and you message back saying, thank you very much, that's the end of the conversation. Where if you message back saying, that's amazing, what would you like to see more of? Or what parts of the unit did you like? Or whatever it might be. They then reply to you. Now, I guarantee their time, they'll have a look, come onto your page, reply to you. That is an analytic to all of the social media platforms that they're staying on your content. And it takes way longer to write out a comment usually than it does to watch a video for 5 or 10 seconds. So that's keeping people hooked on your content, which drives it even further forward. So the comments are always really important. Make sure you're replying to people, engaging with people, because you'll start threads within your own comments of going back and with different people, and then other people join in. So that works really, really well.
Perfect. Love that. And I've seen that we've only got 10 minutes left. So that's my bad, because you've been very succinct, Derry.
I'm trying. I don't like going on times. We should be here till 9 p.m. tonight. So yeah.
I know. Well, next time it'll be a social all-nighter.
I'll hold you to that. I'm in.
But I'll quickly answer some questions. I really got to stress this. I will make sure I go through all these questions afterwards, and we'll put, if you want, I'll make sure I get in touch and let you know. So yeah, we'll start around with Anne. Hi, my STR page has around 300 followers. That's great. But the only responses I get to post is from a small number of my actual friends. Am I missing something? Derry, do you want to chime in on that one, or do you want me to?
So I guess that would relate to how much content that you're putting out there that's gaining organic reach. So whatever content that's going on there at the moment is Facebook and Instagram and TikTok will be determining it's not being shown to the right amount of people or the right audience or whatever else it might be. So it's showing them to the followers, but it's obviously finding it difficult to find other people that are looking for that content. So it's hard without seeing the content, because we could certainly have a look at it on that. But I would suggest trying different things with the content creation. If you're currently doing videos about dogs, and it's not dog friendly, for example, you need to change, Facebook and Instagram are always trying to work out who your audience is and who they need to show it to. So it seems like it's not able to work it out. And it could be that there's lots of different content, so one day you might be posting about the short-term rental, the next day it might be about dogs, the next day it might be about the beach, and it can't quite work out where to put that content. So this is where it comes down to consistency. If you're consistent with the content you're putting out, then it'll start to learn who wants to see that, and that's when it starts showing it to a wider audience.
Great, yeah, and perhaps evaluate, like we've just been speaking about now, evaluate what's worked really well and what hasn't, and then maybe you can start to look at promoting a bit more of that, posting more of that, and then maybe look at, perhaps you might already be doing this, but a different variety of posts that you can use, lots of video content. Maybe have a little look at what you're posting and what you might change up a little bit if you were to reevaluate it. I'm sure you're doing really, really well on it. Next question. Here is my issue for creating an avatar. This is a really meaty question. Thank you, Gordon. We have more than 25 properties under management, all with different audiences. Amazing. Some properties are high end for family of 10, another for 2 in mid-range. How do we set the customer avatar? That is really interesting. I would say you would set different avatars, different for your different audiences. And what I would emphasize is that you have under management with different audiences, 25 properties. I would say, if this is one strategy that you could have an Instagram page, you could have a TikTok displaying them all in various different ways, and with an understanding of, look at what we have, what variety we have. And then I would say to myself, okay, who am I targeting with this particular piece of content? I'm targeting the families. And I would just still make it very visually appealing for all, and there's certainly kind of a window there as to targeting a lot of people, regardless of their demographic, making it really inspirational, that sort of thing. What would you say to that, Derry?
Yeah, so I wouldn't worry so much about the avatar thing. It's back to, similar what we were just saying then, is Facebook and Instagram and TikTok will find the right people for that content. So as long as you're staying consistent across all of the properties. So if you're doing, it might be different if you had one property that was dog friendly and one that wasn't. That's a hard one to kind of switch between. But if they're all relatively similar, so they're all properties, and yes, some take families and some take kids, our site is very much like that. We have a huge range of customers. We have people who are, 18 to 30, we have couples, we have families, we have old age pensioners, we have everybody. So what we tend to find out is we put the content out and let Facebook, Instagram, TikTok do the work of finding the right avatar for that person. But again, when it's slightly off socials, more down to web design, if you're doing a video that's specifically targeting couples for retreats, you can add a link into that social post that directs them to a specific page on your website rather than getting lost in the website. I think the issue would be getting lost in the website rather than the socials. So making sure you're directing the right customers to the right pages within your website, so you can do specific content that you think is targeted for couples, for example, and send them to a page that relates to that. I'd certainly try and keep all the socials together, because having multiple smaller audiences doesn't really gain the benefit. So I'd try and keep it under one larger model. But to me, that's just a lot of content that you can put out. If I had 25 units compared to 13, I'd be doubling my audience.
There you go. That's the perfect person to ask that. Yeah, I think that was a brilliant answer. It was definitely better than mine. But what about Twitter? Says Reed. You're quite right. Yeah, like I said, it's this is a really quick whistle-stop tour for focusing on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. But Twitter, I would say, though, is a very similar sort of approach. You have to think to yourself, and for example, in our case, as Touchstay, there is a huge amount of short-term rental influencers on Twitter, and that is where one of our colleagues and workmates, Tyann, she's brilliant on there because she will talk about her short-term rental. She has quite a big audience on there, and it's because she's seen where her audience is participating, her audience of other short-term rental professionals, and therefore she can get her information out as a point of authority. So she uses that particular platform as someone in the industry in the know. So I would say Twitter, if perhaps maybe for cyclists, or I'm just trying to think of something completely off the top of my head here, a niche group of people that might be residing on Twitter, maybe use that platform there to connect and engage with them. I would say look at how that platform benefits you and your audience. Is there a particular, bookstagram is certainly one on Instagram, but it can be on Twitter as well. Discover and find out if your audience is participating on Twitter, and then create the content for that. So, and then you can approach it in a different way, a thread-based post about 5 different places to go to within X place. This is where the best restaurant is, blah, 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 so on and so forth. And you can see whether or not that works for you. And I'm gonna send the next question your way, Derry.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I was just about to say the next 4 are all basically on the same topic in a different way, shape, or form. So it's basically saying, do you recommend staggering or dropping all 3 posts on the same day or same time? Pushing content simultaneously, getting them across all the different platforms. So all 4 of these questions are very similar. Should your content be different across different platforms? Should you be using a specific account to link all of them together to push out the same content? So the answer is no, in short. If you pushed out the same thing identically onto every platform, it will play better on some than others. So what we do is, again, in our instance, we first of all put content onto TikTok. So we'll do over a 7 or 10 day period, we'll post content on TikTok every day. We'll work out of those 7 or 10 posts which one did best. We will then take that content and put it onto Instagram and Facebook. And we find then taking the best content from TikTok, which TikTok will decide, because the good thing with TikTok is that every post is based on its own merit. So if we do a really good post, we'll get 1 million, 2 million views. If we do a really bad post, we'll get, well, in our case, it'll be a few thousand views. So, and each one's based on its own merit. With Facebook and Instagram, it's this staging. So if you're constantly creating good content, it will automatically show it to a minimum amount of people. So, sorry, on average, from an engagement point of view, our posts on Facebook and Instagram always get at least 70 to 80,000 on Facebook and Instagram. And it would do, if I put a photo of a black screen on there today, it would still show 70 or 80,000 people a black screen. But then next time, it'll take me down because you're constantly staging it, where with TikTok, it doesn't do that. So we take content from TikTok that we know has been doing well, and we then add it to Facebook and Instagram. There is a slight delay on it because, as I said earlier on, the algorithm for Facebook and Instagram is constantly keeping up with TikTok, but slightly behind. So we find a week to 2 from something being on TikTok to crossing over onto Facebook and Instagram. We do post similarly on Facebook and Instagram, although, again, specific points. Facebook, best 3 to 4 times a week, no more than that. Instagram, you can do daily. TikTok, you can do multiple times a day. There's no real limit on that. So it all depends how much content you've got, but that's how it roughly works across all of them. But I certainly wouldn't we create stuff in CapCut. That's the app we use to create content. We then download that content onto our phones, although it can go straight to TikTok from there. We always find it better to make the content outside of any platform. So then it's not got any of the watermarks. It's not got any your metadata in the background showing where that content was made. So we take that content, download it, and we then share it onto the platforms.
Oh, we're on a cliffhanger. Derry, hello. I think he's gone. Hey.
Oh, well, did indeed leave you on a cliffhanger.
Yes. Well, you know what? in right about time. Oh, Derek, you're with us. You cut
Did I
out then.
disappear?
Yeah.
Oh, I went on a big rant then. Sorry.
Don't worry, it's not your fault.
I must have had a glitch.
But what you said was amazing and
Thank
really,
you.
really good. And I'll stop sharing my screen now. I will just show this one last slide, which we will be sharing with you if it will load. No, yeah. So that's just the tips there, the resources. So Derry just mentioned it there very quickly about CapCut, Canva, later Sprout Social Hootsuite, and then AI, the Secret Garden Glamping. Go and have a little look at there. I popped a link to their Instagram there, but also put a TikTok as well. And our Touch Day blog, we have 101 ideas for you in one of our blog posts there. So we will link that in case you're looking for ideas as to what to post for your short-term rental. But yeah, these are just helpful resources that might help you outside of this. But obviously, like I mentioned, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. Like I mentioned, this is more of a whistle-stop tour. We've only had kind of, an hour to go through this all. And what I'll do, as you could probably see in slow motion there, I was highlighting those questions so that we can look at answering them afterwards, because we want to make sure that all your questions are answered. So potentially I'll figure out a way of doing that we can, follow up with you and have a really good look at answering those questions in the next week or so. So yeah, back to you, Emma.
Awesome. Well, so we'll be able to get a report of all of those questions that were asked. So if there are some good meaty ones, which I'm pretty sure there are, we can always answer those in our Rockstars groups. That's another reason, as Alice said, to join our Facebook community group. So give us join. And thank you all so much. Amazing questions. And Derry, as always, it's an absolute pleasure. Always a pleasure chatting with you.
You're very welcome. I love this subject, and we can talk about this till the cows come home. It gets down to so many different levels, but the answer is, as you said earlier on, being consistent is the main thing, and treating it like any other part of your business. So it's no different to if you needed to order toilet rolls because you were running out, you'd order them a week or 2 weeks before. You wouldn't leave it until the person was arriving and you've run out of toilet rolls. And it's the same with content creation. If you sit and spend whatever amount of time, an hour a day, an hour a week, an hour a month, it doesn't really matter. As long as you set that time aside, just like any other part of your business, it will build up. And it can be on a slow pace, it can be on a fast pace, but it's ultimately no different to any other part of your business.
So true. And what I'll add to that is my one top tip, even though we're fully over time now, my one top tip, we've got 80 people still here, would be to just try and start it. A lot of people ask me, oh, I'm not really sure how to do it. I don't really know. Don't worry about it. Social media is accessible to everyone. It doesn't have to be really fancy. It doesn't have to be like, film edit quality. Nowadays, people are very and love kind of, put together videos that aren't necessarily as professional. It's a really nice behind the scenes way of seeing things and, very authentic content that and you can make that. You can do it. If I can do it, anyone can do it. So you can make that. So don't be worried about doing it. Just do it. Just give it a go, trial and error, and then just see what happens. If things don't go necessarily your way, no worry. Just try a different strategy, try a different kind of content, something different, post something different. That's why we look at it, look at the results to make sure we go, right, okay, that didn't work. We try something else. So yeah, so that's it.
That's perfect. You know what? It was one of the little notes that I wrote down here was the change of content for, and I'm sorry for going on because we are over time.
Don't worry.
Still there. I got really into making amazing videography of the site and these big long running videos like it was a film set. And it was really hard for me to convert over to TikTok when it became, at first I seen it as these scatty videos that weren't very good, not painting it in a good light. But actually, like you were saying before, that user-generated content, that is really important to people now, because with TikTok and Facebook and Instagram, people are sick of review sites where everything's 5-star or everything's 1-star. And you can tell the difference between them. If something's a 1-star, they weren't happy, but it wasn't that bad. And if it was 5-star, it probably wasn't perfect. So there's less trust in that now. Whereas if you see a video walking around a site and it's a rainy day or a sunny day, it doesn't really matter. People are taking that as a review to show authenticity. And that is what people are craving. They've had advertising pushed down the necks for 20 years. And what they really want to see is, what's it going to be like if I'm sat there on a Tuesday in December in the rain? Well, if somebody's having a great time on Tuesday in December in the rain, then I'm going to have a great time in August in the sunshine. It's as easy as that. So they're taking this content and using those as reviews rather than review sites going forward. And it can be the worst content ever, and it can get great engagement.
That's so true. That's so true. And just to end on a really lovely note, Laura said, that was outstanding. Please do more. So we've done something right, even with all the technical difficulties. But yeah, Derry, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. It's been so nice chatting to you and about all of this.
It's always a pleasure. You know, whenever we talk, and we do keep going on and on and on, but I would love to do this more and for longer and just sit and fire questions from everybody constantly. I love it.
Should we make it a weekly thing?
We'll have to do it. We'll have to do it in real life, like a Derry and Alice event.
You imagine the Q&A? I'd be obsessed.
No toilet breaks though. Everybody's going to sit there for 10 hours and listen.
Right. I love it.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Derry, and thank you, Alice. Always absolutely wonderful. So thank you. And thank you everyone for joining. Have a great rest of day wherever you are. And a recording of this will be sent to everyone who joined. So thank you so much.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.